starts with you, only you. A cosmic dance, the truth so true. From the ether to the earthly plane, all you seek, you can attain. The quantum flow, the light you hold, creates the story that will unfold. Every thought and step you make, the universe is yours to take. It starts with you, the mirror's hue, infinite skies reflecting you. From the void, you birth the light. Through the shadows, your soul takes flight. The winds will shift, its timeless bend. Every cycle begins again. Your energy builds, it flows, it streams, aligning rims, igniting your dream. Each vibration, each sacred sound, a universe moves resound. You are the spark, divine and true, illuminating. It's all you do. Just remember, it starts with you, the mirror's hue, infinite skies reflecting you. From the void, you birth the light. Through the shadows, your soul ignites. The path within, the path divine. Through space, your world aligns. Every rise, every fall, you're connected to it all. It starts with you, the quantum view, manifesting dreams like the morning dew. From the stillness, creation flows. Through the darkness, your spirit moves. It starts with you, only you. Through dimension, through the veil, the sacred truth, and you prevail. Now infinite, clear, and true, this road ahead, it's made for you. It all begins and ends with you. Even the chaos, through the flame, you rise anew, never the same. Every heartbeat, every sign weaves your essence, soaring high. The cosmos bends to your command. Creation blooms within your hand. It starts with you, only you, only you. It starts with you.
Welcome into the space, family. Happy Tuesday. We are back again tonight to hold a little bit more space tonight, twice in 1 week. So come in and let's vibe tonight. Before we get started, we're going to get into our disclosures. Y'all welcome into the space. Y'all say hello. Say hello as you get in the building tonight. I welcome you. I'm going to get my disclosures on the way. I share my own experiences on my journey to healing. I am a certified life coach, and my mission is simple: to restore knowledge of self-rooted and balanced truth, justice, reciprocity, and divine knowing. The beautiful thing is you don't have to abandon anything that you've been taught or everything that you've been taught to receive what's available. Access is already in you. Now, let me remind you of something powerful, and I quote, "The works that you see me do, you can also do, and even greater works than these." How can we do these works, Ty? Beautiful question. From gaining the power from within. So while you're waiting on Jesus, leave me your meantime. Because if you don't recognize your responsibility in the process, everything you do is useless. So if it don't apply to you tonight, let it fly. If some apply and some don't, eat the meat and spit out the bones. If it all applies, eat it all and apply the knowledge. Topic tonight, resignation letter. We're here for a short time tonight, not a long time, but come in and hold space and say hello as you get in the building. Tonight we're going to start by setting these intentions as we always do, because it starts with you space if we don't. So I invite you to stand in a space with me and take a deep breath as we go on this journey of unfolding. As you breathe, just notice what shows up and what comes up when you hear the word work. Not just employment, but labor. What have you been giving your life force to? What have you been sacrificing yourself for? What systems have you stayed committed to, even when your spirit was quietly dying inside? Sit with that for a second. Tonight, we set the intention to become honest about the difference between survival and fulfillment, because many of us have been taught how to survive the systems without ever asking, is this system feeding my soul or is it draining me? So as we sit in this space together tonight, we allow ourselves an opportunity to question, to observe, to feel, and to become aware of the contracts that we unconsciously sign. So we sit with some awareness. And tonight we stop glorifying being exhausted. We stop calling the things that we don't desire to have. And we're going to stop calling self-abandonment faithfulness. You have spent years laboring without ever feeling internally compensated. And maybe for the first time tonight, we become honest enough to ask, what is this producing for me? What benefit am I getting from this? Has it brought me on a path of peace? Or has it only taught me how to tolerate suffering? So tonight, we don't silence that part of me, whatever that part of you is, whether it's disconnected or not. So tonight, we don't silence that part. We listen to it honestly, with awareness, with balance. Because awareness is the beginning of liberation. And in this, I understand that everything that's mine starts with me. And so does everything that's yours starts with you. And we're going to hold space and stand in agreement as we say those things tonight. And I say, and so it is. Hotel, welcome in, family. Y'all got me 2 nights in a row. Well, not 2 nights in a row, but 2 nights in a week. So I'm going to say, welcome to the space. So quote tonight is, a job you hate, but it pays well. What does that look like? So welcome into the space, family. Hello, welcome in. Those of you that are new coming in, my name is Ty Simatawi, and I welcome you into this space where it starts with you, where there's no shame, blame, or judgment. However, we do hold ourselves and one another accountable. But here in this space, we do a lot of things different, and it's very probably unorthodox and something that you're not used to. We do things different. But we don't repeat information. We slow down enough to observe ourselves, where it leads us to, what it produces internally, and what it can look like and show up externally, and whether it creates alignment or deeper confusion. We sit with those things. So come hold space with me tonight. Welcome in. Come hold space with me tonight as y'all get in here. And now, if you do decide and you want to share, go ahead and put it in the chat. If you decide you want to remain anonymous, send it to my inbox and we can hold space with it on, I can hold space with you on later on and keep you anonymous. So let's get into it. Topic tonight is resignation letter. So I put in my resignation letter. This one is personal. I know I say it all the time, but I get in here and I when I say everything is personal. We got to start being petty about the things that show up. Because when I say I put in my resignation letter, I need you to understand something. I'm not just talking about church. I know that's my specialty, but I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about life. I'm talking about what waking up one day realizing you spent years working on a job that paid you but never fed you. And if I'm being honest, some of the hardest jobs I ever worked weren't employment. I was in roles I played trying to survive, trying to be accepted, trying to be chosen, trying to be good enough, trying to fit inside what somebody else had for me. And I had to realize and I recognized something in this space, that I was wearing a mask for a really long time, all the while ignoring the condition of my inner world. And family, I was exhausted. And I'm still dealing with some of the residuals that showed up in that. And you should be too. Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about and how it feels to wake up every morning just tired for no reason. Tired in your body, tired in your spirit, just tired. But you go and you clock in anyway. You report to that job. You're faithful to it. You smile, you show up, you serve, you give anyway. And deep down, something inside of you keeps whispering, this is not it. This ain't it. Something better should be showing up. But you stay because it pays. Now hear me. Not every paycheck is about, not every paycheck is money. Some people stay in systems because the payment is validation, belonging, identity, fear, relief, emotional dependency, the hope that one day they'll find and finally feel worthy of something. And I had to become honest about this thing within myself, because I realized I knew how to survive those systems. I learned in survival mode how to get by at my detriment, because I didn't know how to choose me. And that's where many of us are, putting ourselves on the back burner for everything and everybody. We become incredible employees for everybody else's vision. We work overtime. We work weekends and holidays. They call us in and we go even if we're sick. We don't even dare not to show up while abandoning our own souls in the process. The other day we unpacked the topic. And family, the conversation was deep and I was in it. Because many of us had to confront the reality that we have genuinely been taught valuable things, but those things led us away from ourselves and who we are designed and called to be. I'm we're gonna unpack that tonight. We unpack the scripture of a blind leading a blind. What does that look like in real life? And I ended by asking a question that stayed with me these past few days. And I'm going to unpack that tonight. What happens when somebody teaches me well and leads me right? What happens? Welcome in, family. Now hear me carefully, family, because that question changed my entire trajectory of how I see things. Because if I can recognize what I feel like what it's like to be led wrong, then I should be able to recognize what it feels like to be right. But that's not everybody's story. We should be able to recognize what's bringing deeper connection within ourselves. Because anything that's constantly requiring you to abandon yourself might be teaching you survival. but not leading you towards life. I've unpacked that before of what it's actually like to start living. And family, that's what brought me to tonight's topic. And I'm slowing it all the way down, and I'm going to take my time tonight. And with that, I understand that words matter. And your book of magic tells you life or death is in the power of your tongue. Now, most people hear that and immediately think, watch what you say. But I need us to go deeper tonight. Let me get my vibe right. We're going deeper tonight. Words don't just communicate things. Words shape perception. They shape your identity, your nervous system. Words shape your internal reality. A single word can free somebody. It can shame them. It can bind. It can awaken. Or it can keep somebody trapped for years. And many of us have spent our lives repeating words without ever asking, what agreements did I unconsciously make? And before we go any further, I'm going to honor that. I want us to understand something. What I'm unpacking tonight is not just a teaching. This is lived and live experience and expressions. This is me finally putting in words to something my spirit has been feeling for a really long time. This is my resignation letter spoken out loud, sharing it with you. Not the kind you hand to your manager at a regular job. I'm talking about a resignation from roles and systems and expectations and survival patterns and ways of living. And now you can apply this in your life that way too. And that's why I'm sharing it. Those things that have slowly we have allowed, us to disconnect from ourselves. And family, I'm not doing this tonight from a place of hate, but from awareness. Because eventually you get tired of pretending, tired of acting like everything feels good when it doesn't, tired of performing, tired of suppressing yourself, tired of surviving in positions that slowly drain the life out of you. And I realized something as I was unpacking this, that I have experienced being physically present, but spiritually checked out. Still smiling and showing up, still serving and saying that I'm blessed, that I'm faithful, that God is good, but internally feeling exhausted, disconnected, emotionally empty, and lost inside. I've done it. I lived it. I know what it feels like. Because there comes a moment when your soul starts saying, I'm tired. How much longer can I keep doing this? How much longer can I keep abandoning myself just to maintain this role? And tonight I'm finally giving language to my experience. And it's not rebellion. But as this is me becoming honest enough to say, some things taught and what we were taught were only survival tactics. And so maybe some of y'all have been there too. So you can relive this experience and walk through it with me. Maybe your body is still showing up, but your spirit already feels disconnected. So tonight, I'm not just teaching, I'm expressing, I'm unpacking, I'm releasing, I'm giving voice to the resignation letter that you don't have the words to say, that you are afraid to say. Ty will give that voice for you tonight. My spirit has been trying to hand it in for years. And because language is not neutral, the words you repeat long enough eventually become beliefs. They used to tell us all the time, if you say you can't, you won't. And belief shapes behavior. So sometimes people don't even realize that they've been living inside definitions they don't even consciously know what they mean or have never examined. And we use these words our whole lives without ever asking, what does it actually mean? So when I say I'm putting in my resignation tonight, I had to really sit with the word. Because resignation is deeper than just quitting a job. And I never knew that. The word resignation comes from the word resignare, which means to unseal. Sorry, family, I'm so sorry. Y'all apologize for that. I'm gonna be still. It means to unseal, to cancel a contract, to give back. I'm gonna get it together soon, y'all. I promise I am. There we go. To give it back, to give back a contract, to release what was once assigned. And that hit me deeply. And as I look back at what I unpacked on I taught you well, but led you wrong, and I ended by saying, how will I know when somebody taught me right and led me right? And tonight, this is a continuation of that question. Because eventually when awareness enters, you start realizing that some contracts no longer align with who you are becoming and the greatest version of yourself that you desire to be. Not because it's evil, but because your soul recognizes what once helped you survive is no longer helping you. And that's what resignation became for me. Hear me careful. Most people think resignation means giving up. But spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, resignation means I can no longer abandon myself to maintain a role. And that's different. Different than what we've been given. So eventually, you have to decide, do I keep performing this role and putting on this mask? Or do I become honest about what this role has produced inside of me in my life? And that's terrifying if you've never sat with it. That's terrifying if you've never taken a look at it. And resignation means that something in you has changed. Your awareness has changed. Your nervous system has changed. Your relationship with yourself changed. So the things you once tolerated, you can no longer tolerate the same way. It used to say that when I became a Christian, I became a new creature. That's what I'm unpacking tonight. And that's where it got really real for me, because I realized my spirit resigned before my body did. And I know that nobody's going to talk about this. And when I thought about that, I remember hearing people say a woman leaves mentally before she could ever, for her body actually does. And I thought about that and I sat with it and I think back on my relationships and I was like, absolutely. But I didn't stay there. I went deeper. Because that statement it goes deeper than relationships, because what people are really describing is internal disconnection. The body is physically present, but the attachment is already gone. I know you know what that feels like. You still answer the phone. You're still coming home. You're still laying beside the person, still playing the roles, but emotionally, mentally, energetically, you've already left. And family, that same thing happens spiritually. That same thing happens in religion. Still attend church, still sing the songs, quote the scripture, say hallelujah, but internally, you're not there anymore. And the body knows. And the body always tells the truth because it keeps the score. That's why people can claim that I'm blessed. I have joy, unspeakable joy. I'm at peace, and then curse you out right on the doorsteps. This is why you can claim that you're abstinence. But I can see you riding down the strip where the hookers reside. I don't want to hear the excuse that we all seen and fall short. I don't want to hear that we got rid of that goat a long time ago. I'm showing you what's happening. Your body is saying something different because the nervous system can't fake alignment. It can't and it won't. So what starts showing up? Heaviness, urges, lust, greed, all the things y'all do to escape. But that demon always comes back. Because you need those, you have those emotional highs and that temptation that shows up. That's just a part of nature. You get that fix and you temporarily connect again. So you can go out, you can do all the speaking in tongues. Welcome in. You can speak in tongues, you can do the things you do. Thank you. To connect to that dopamine, just to get that dopamine hit. What are you talking about, Ty? I'm talking about the running y'all do, the falling out, the crying, going to the altar week after week, constantly catching the Holy Ghost. All of those things provide you dopamine. So them praise breaks, them too. Those are temporary emotional activations that make you feel like you're connected. Because those intense emotions create movement in your nervous system. Thank you. So that thing that you're trying to press down, it ain't gonna work. It ain't going anywhere. Once it fades, you return to wherever you were. Emptiness, exhaustion. Because the body knows, and it's not going to forget how you need to be feeling. That's why you can say, I'm trying to hold on. I'm trying to stay faithful. I'm trying to believe, because internally something already has been disconnected. And hear me carefully. This is not an attack on your Christianity. This is about becoming aware of what's happening when we fake our way through this. Your body will start carrying the contradictions. And family, that contradiction is exhausting. It causes a divide within yourself. The mouth saying one thing, your body saying another. And in this process, resignation becomes the moment you stop blindly following directions that disconnect you from yourself. Yeah, I need to vibe. I'm not saying at all reject anything. Throw away every lesson. No, that's not what I'm saying. Ty never will get on here and tell you that. Because I said before, something taught us discipline, structure, resilience, consistency. We keep in that. But we're going to add to some things. And eventually I had to ask, where is all that labor leading me to internally? This work that I'm saying that I'm putting in, because being led right should produce some type of awareness. It should produce peace. It should produce a deeper connection with myself, not a constant state of emotional exhaustion. So resignation has to become some things. Me releasing identities built on survival, me canceling internal contracts that require self-abandonment and family. That's hard, because many of us don't know who we are. Outside of the role that we've been given, we don't know. And I've learned so much about myself that I did not know until now. Since I turned in my resignation letter, I still see y'all sitting in churches right now already resigned internally. I can see it because I know what it looked like for me. I know what it looked like when I was at my wit's end and I just didn't even want to get up in the morning. I just felt what I'm going for. What is the use of me even showing up? Deep down inside, I was exhausted from all the work that I was putting in. All the work that no longer gave me life. I was exhausted because religion gave me an identity, a way to survive some of these hard times. But eventually I had to become honest about the difference between surviving and what actually was what I was feeling inside. It's just like a job, can pay you good money, but drain the life out of you emotionally. Religion was the same way. Committed. I was committed. It was dependable, praised by everybody, while internally your soul starts asking, is this really helping me grow? Why do I feel so drained? Why do I feel disconnected from myself? And that's a beautiful question for me to revisit tonight. And I'm sharing that with you. Before I could understand resignation, I had to ask myself some powerful questions. What part of myself did I lose trying to belong in this system? Because every system costs something. I used to get bothered by people that say nothing in life was free. I would always tell them love is free. Ain't nothing free, family. And I'm saying this with my chest because I know it. I've lived it. Everything requires something. The way that we've been taught, I won't even call it love. I'm going to say we're not even capable in the state that we're in. Every job asks something of you, whether that's love, whether it's employment, whatever it is, even religion. And many of us have never stopped to ask, what did this require me to sacrifice? And I realized there were many parts of myself I slowly disconnected from to fit into this circle. Things that I should have been that should have been natural to me. Things that connected me to balance, truth, and peace, and knowing myself. So what did I slowly give up? I gave up so many things to be in this. Gave up my intuition, my honesty about how I felt, my curiosity, my questions, my ability to trust myself, my individuality, my peace, my emotional balance, my connection to my body. Those things that show up naturally for you. They ask you to lay them on the line, just give them up, rebuke it. And I can keep going because it's deep. Because eventually you get busy trying to look right on the outside, trying to stop noticing how tired you are on the inside, how much you're suppressing about yourself. I know you don't realize it. I know because I'm still on the journey of discovering about me. But we're unpacking tonight. Some of y'all might be asking, Ty, why are you even talking about resignation? Why compare the church to a job? Why does that even matter? Beautiful questions. I love them and I welcome them because the moment I started becoming honest with myself, I realized something. Many of us are spiritually employed, but emotionally unemployed. bankrupt. You're on autopilot. Your body is still reporting to a job that you've been fired from a long time ago. But your spirit stopped getting paid a long time ago. And for those of you that are getting paid, you're getting minimum wage for it. For the time that you spend devoting to this thing, you call religion, all of the time that you spent. And you only get residuals. You only get paid when you die. Uh-oh, I don't think I can say that. Unalive, welcome in. Hello. When I think about that, I envision me showing up at your home going, after you transition. And I've seen so many people make skits and reels and stuff about there's people showing up to somebody's homegoing service and saying, brother, what, you owe me money. And I'm going to tell you, never going to get it. You never going to get it. And that's what it's really about recognizing when labor no longer produces life inside you. And some of us know exactly what it feels like to stay at a job we hate, not because we love the work, but because we fear leaving. Everybody has had a job. I can't quit. My boss talking to me crazy, but I can't leave. I don't want to go and I don't feel like getting up because I'm sick. Everybody has experienced something like that before. And I realize that religion functions exactly the same way. And this topic matters so much to me. And I had to come on and do it tonight. But resignation only makes sense when you understand how the system works, the roles, the labels, the labor, and what the label has been costing you eternally. And once I really looked at it and I slowed down, I sat down and I said, you know what? We're going to do this thing tonight. I looked at the structure of the church and I realized it felt just like a job that I hated when I was in it. Why is that, Ty? Because of what I had to keep doing to stay in compliance with that role. And the more I looked at it, the more I realized the things I was doing to stay in compliance was slowly pulling me away from who I was. Naturally. I just want to be I'm a love bug. I just want to love, you know? But I learned how to suppress that part of me. Those natural craves that come natural me want to be in my partner's skin. Those things were demonized. And you can't even ask why. So I learned how to laugh when I really felt like crying. I learned how to manage my anger because the whites were watching. So keep smiling. Put on a good face because they're watching. That's exhausting. But eventually you wake up realizing if you wake up at all, y'all take issue when somebody say they woke. Knowing that I learned how to play the role, but I didn't know who I was on the inside. And I carried it all outside that job, outside the church. And that's when that whole resignation thing started to make sense to me. Because if religion feels like a job, Ty, then I have to ask, what position was I working? What position am I working if I'm in the church still? What was I being paid with? And why was I so exhausted? Why am I so exhausted? And we're going to unpack that. We're going to unpack that a little bit because church mirrors a structure of a company. And I'm going to show you how. There's roles they hire you for. Now, family, every position at the church through this lens, I realize everybody has a role to play. And everybody was expected to perform said role a certain way. And the pressure of trying to maintain those roles is what leaves people spiritually, emotionally, and sometimes even physically exhausted. So let's take a look at this contract that you've gotten yourself into. You're not going to get anywhere else like this. So I'm going to show you what you're doing. So in this contract, God is the CEO of this said company, the highest authority. You'll report to work every day. You'll report to him every day. He is the one, that everybody ultimately answers to. So it's untouched, unquestioned. He's always right. He sees all. He knows all. You don't know if he a woman or a man because nobody's ever laid eyes on him. And because of that, the expectation becomes obey without question. Don't ask no questions. No talking back. Even though you can't see him. Don't mumble on your breath because he can hear it. Don't even think about it because he can see, he knows what you're going to do before you do it. Thank you. Not only that, he knows your heart. You have to know these things. That he's there even when he don't answer. So if you say something and he don't even answer you, you got to know he's there. Because he may not come when you want him, but he's right on time. But he's not a preventative God. And he'll test you. Just make sure you're good and faithful. So trust completely, stay loyal, don't disappoint authority, fear punishment, seek approval, remain submitted. We'll just start with that. Because those are some of the basics. Those are the prerequisites of what you have to do to get this job. Family, many of you have centered your whole lives around this. And you started asking questions. Am I pleasing the CEO? Am I doing a good job? Am I good enough? Am I doing enough to stay accepted? All of this so I can be in the number of the select few that can meet these prerequisites and then be a part of the ones that they can do all things through Christ that strengthen them. So I can be with these saints that go marching in when it's time. So now instead of a relationship, you experience pressure and fear. Because there's a consequences if I fuck this up. And there's pressure to perform, to obey, to stay in line because I don't want to go to hell. So as a result, you start overriding honesty with yourself. But that ain't all, because there's more. Because Jesus is now the supervisor. He gives you the job description and the expectations for him too. Love everybody. Forgive everybody. Serve everybody. Sacrifice constantly. Deny yourself. Carry your own cross. But stay humble. Endure the suffering. Put others before yourself. Love your neighbor. Those things sound beautiful spiritually. But if you don't comply in his Father's house, He gonna come flip over y'all tables. But when people don't have balance internally, those expectations turn into self-abandonment. Because eventually that journey turns into, what do I feel? Because I don't know anymore. I don't know what to feel. What do I need? I don't know. So let me ask. This process, it makes you tolerate mistreatment because you don't have to think anymore. Keep giving even when you're empty. Stay available no matter how much it'll drain you. And that, my friend, becomes emotional labor. Especially when you are constantly pouring out while nobody is asking. Who's pouring back into you? Nobody's asking you that. And eventually, many of you become so focused on being a good Christian, you stop knowing how to simply just be you. But then on the other hand, you'll say, I'm only human. I'm just a man. What kind of cognitive dissonance is going on here? But I ain't finished. Because now you got middle management, the pastors, the elders, the ministers, the leaders. They become the middle management. And what does management expect? Attendance, be there on time, commitment, obedience, participation, loyalty, consistency, service, submission to the culture, pay your tithes. I had to throw that in there. I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. Pay your tithes. And manager's job becomes correcting that behavior. They're the shepherds. But they won't take responsibility for you because this is your own journey. You're going to have to be responsible for yourself, even though I've been designated to be responsible for you. These are the people that are responsible for the dirty work of writing you up if you need to. When you're disobedient after years of hearing this, you start seeing yourself as workers. So now your worth becomes tied to how much you serve, what you sacrifice, how available you are. And eventually you get spiritually burnt out, trying to maintain this position. Then we have the congregation. You, the employee, clocking in Sunday after Sunday, Bible study on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever day yours on. Sunday school. So you got to get to church early. You got church anniversary, pastor anniversary, first lady anniversary, usher appreciation, first lady's birthday, and you better make sure you got them diamonds in her ring or that gift that she wants, or she's going to be very upset with you if you don't show up with her gift. Pastor's birthday, the musician appreciation, Easter program, Christmas program, baptism, so you got to show up on that, the building fund, the volunteer event to raise money for the pastors, serving, cooking the pastor food before you can even cook your family something, performing faithfulness. Did I miss something? Put it in the chat. I know I missed a lot of things, and even though I covered a lot of things, there's so many things. What are your expectations as employees? Show up consistently. Don't miss a Sunday because we need you committed. And when you get on the clock, we want you eating on the clock. Don't complain. Don't ask no questions. Just make sure that you got your money. You can't ask no questions about where your money going. That ain't none of your business. Ask the pastor nothing because he said so. Support this vision. Keep believing, keep giving, keep sacrificing. Stay loyal to the system. And with all that abuse, you stay for the same reason you stay on that job you don't like. Not even like, hate. You stay for fear and stability, belonging, identity, fear of starting over, fear of losing benefits. Even when internally you are no longer connected to the labor. And eventually you become expert at looking spiritually alive externally while feeling emotionally disconnected internally. But despite all of that, Ty, that you just gave me, I'm still blessed and highly favored. I call BS. God ain't gonna put no more on me than I can bear. But I'm internally afraid. And I have all the secret questions. But I can't ask none of them because the pastor gonna get offended or leadership is gonna get offended if I ask these questions. I'm overwhelmed because I don't know where my next meal is gonna come from. I don't know how my kids gonna get their school clothes. I don't know how I'm gonna pay my light bill, how I'm gonna pay for my car. This is why this resignation topic matters tonight. And your soul starts asking, what exactly am I getting back for all this labor? Is this producing life in me? Or have I been surviving a role that no longer aligns with who I am? This is happening. And I want us to watch and notice this. I thought about if I wanted to tell this story tonight, but I'm going to share it anyway. It's going to be my first time publicly sharing it outside of my partner, but I decided I'm going to share it tonight. I'm going to share it. That's what I'm going to do. And if I'm honest, part of the reason I'm going to share this now than I haven't shared it before is because I still think I had a little shame behind it. I have some shame attached to sharing it. And it's not shame because I wasn't capable. It was shame because I almost lost myself trying to survive inside somebody else's system. And family, that's what this whole teaching is really about. Because we have lost ourselves in jobs and relationships and religion and systems and roles, trying to earn approval while slowly disconnecting. And eventually, you got to ask yourself so many questions. How much of myself have I sacrificed just to stay here? I get sad when I say things like that because I got shit too. I got stuff that I'm dealing with. But let me tell you about me. I've always been, and I am a natural athlete. I've always been competitive. When I lock in on something, thank you. When I lock in on something, I'm going to study it. I'm going to break it down. I'll spend hours on it. And I try to master it. And what I discovered in this journey, a lot of times it was to prove something to other people. Welcome in. And family, that same energy showed up when I started working for one of the biggest credit unions in Texas. Turn it down. Sorry. Started working for one of the biggest credit unions in Texas. I love what I did, and I'm very good at it. I'm not average. I'm not no average, regular, smegular. I'm none of that. I'm I'm that girl, top producer. And when I first got there, everybody was so excited, to have me on. I'm excited about you coming on. They was smiling. They was welcoming. I was the only Black woman loan originator there. Now, hear me carefully. At first, I don't think they expected much from me. And I'm putting it light. That's my perception. That's what I took from it. I don't think they expected much from this Black girl that showed up with this beautiful, bubbly personality and this, cuteness. And I'm sorry, y'all. I'm gonna be still. I'm gonna be still. Let me get y'all together. I am so sorry. I'm making it my business this time. Next time when I come on, y'all won't have to deal with none of that. I promise you won't. And my partner, I know he gonna fuss at me. I tell you to get that thing right and do it while I was there. Doc, you don't even have to say it. I'm gonna punish. I'm gonna make sure myself that I get it together. But they thought I was ordinary. But family, that's what happens when people underestimate you. I tell us all the time that we're built different. We're not the same. And I say that with my chest. When I say that, I mean it. What they didn't know, I don't just work hard. I have a partner that goes hard for me. He stands behind me. He thinks different. And I had already learned, through some of the other work that I've done, how to study systems. Patterns can be learned. And once you understand the systems, you can outperform the system. I do know that. They weren't, and they weren't. And this is what they fear in you. Antonio, they fear that about you. Learning about yourself, knowing who you are. You are the more dominant. They are the more recessive. We are naturally talented. Anything we do, we put our minds to, we go in and we dominate. We take it over. If only we recognize who we are. And that's what I did. And I had, man, when I tell you, let me get y'all together. That ain't me this time. Okay. We have to start recognizing who we are. But anyway, I remember when I interviewed for this job, they kept bragging about this woman that nobody could beat her numbers. Thank you. Nobody could beat her numbers. Family, regardless of what they tell you, it's always a competition. Don't ever forget it. You're always in competition. And they had already inflated it. They said to me, she got all these realtor relationships. She's been there 12 years. What they left out was she gets all the referrals. She got all the employee loans. They left that part out. Come on. Vibe with me. So they wouldn't let anybody else do the employees. And if you go and look up, I ain't gonna tell you the name of it. I can't do that. I think that I ain't gonna do that. But I went in there thinking, in my mind, I had already in my mind, if she's getting all those, and if she's getting the leads and she's getting the employee referrals, No wonder she beating everybody. This is just my mind. So coming in, she already has this advantage. So she thought. Relationships, the connections, times in the system. And I remember hearing all that and thinking, y'all ain't said nothing to a giant. And that's not being arrogant. Because what people mistake for confidence is really awareness of who you really are. At that time, I wasn't even as confident as I am now. But one thing I know is how to sell some shit. Put me in, coach. Give me the product, put me in front of somebody, watch me sell it. And I'm so much more confident than that now. That's reality. And I have the track record to prove it. Not only that, I have a mastermind behind me now. He knows how to watch patterns, and he is so meticulous. He scopes it out. You just give him a few little things, and he's gonna watch he point out the patterns. But anyway, I got in there and I started learning the ropes. I learned the politics of it all. Learning how the system works. And family, Dr. Simatawi, and I have the kudos to Dr. Doc. I'm gonna send you some hearts. I don't know if you're in here tonight, but I gotta shout you out because this man has the most brilliant mind I've ever had direct experience with. Now I ain't gonna say direct, I'm gonna say indirect or direct. So together we were conversing and sharing, and we built this system, not chaos, but a system. Ways for me to move faster, cleaner, more efficient. Come on. Don't listen. Long as you know who you are, we have to know who we are. My people perish for the lack of knowledge. I don't care how they use it, but we need to be using it right. And at the same time, keep in mind, I had just got into the real estate game. I had my real estate license. I had my insurance license. So thank you, beloved. I had my real estate license. I had my insurance license. And I'm not talking about insurance where the leads come to me. I would have to purchase my leads, go door to door and knock on strangers' houses. So put me in, coach. So now I'm building these relationships in the DFW area with realtors in the DFW. And everything started shifting, family. I remember the first moment I knew there was a problem. One of the processors that would close my loans came into my office one day and he said, I usually get old girl to do this. And I know she's responsible for doing all the employee leaves, but I see how you've been knocking this thing out the park. Can you take a look and help me with trying to get my house refinanced? Me not knowing, sure, absolutely, bring it in. Let me look at it. I helped him. Simple. Thought it was done. Easy peasy. I was wrong. Somehow I got back to her. She was livid. She ain't say nothing to me, not directly to me. But she must have chewed him out. Because she was pissed. And he came back and told me that she got mad at him and told him, don't he ever do such a thing. Because he allowed me to help him. And from then on, that energy shifted. Her energy changed, and I could feel it. Because now I done became the this unbeaten. Now you're talking about an unbeatable employee that's having shit handed to them. Somebody come in off the streets, a black woman at that, with a system. And family, that's when things started getting ugly. I'm still on topic. I hope y'all see the comparison and how this works. Once people see how bright your light shine and it's the undeniable, they start trying to control it. Because Houston, we have a problem. And the final straw was the credit union had took us out, all these new loan originators, they had took us out, and we had did some pictures. and some videos for the website. The manager called me in there after we did these pictures. They had partnered with, I'm going to say it this way, a big event center in Grand Prairie. And they wanted me to be on the commercial to represent the company. And you should know that did not go over well. It did not go right. Because now it wasn't just my numbers no more. Now the visibility is going to be there. She's going to be the face. I am hella cute though. Good evening. Welcome in. But I'm not just a cute face. I have this beautiful energy. I know how to talk with people. I know how to relate. And family, some people cannot tolerate your success. But if you stay small, they're okay with it. Long as you stay small. But once your light becomes visible, it exposes insecurity in those people. Listen, that's intimacy, beloved. Into me, you see. I'm telling your story. That's what testimony is about. And you expose that in people. I didn't know that. Not at the time. But I had to knock my head a couple of times to learn. And after that, things got so worse. Let me tell you, we would have Zoom meetings every morning. Before we started getting into the job, we had to meet each morning, go over the numbers and what their objectives were. And they started throwing shots at me. Every time, this passive aggressive comments that they would make, those obsessive compulsive superiority complexes that exposes the whites. They were showing up with all this energy and combativeness. And the manager decided, I'm going to join in with this foolishness and all this undermining behavior. One morning in particular, the lady had her husband in the meeting. Wasn't supposed to be there. And he made a comment and called me a blonde. I told Dr. Sematawi about it. He knew exactly what was happening. He didn't like it. But after all that enduring, and I'm talking about, I put up with a lot of shit. The manipulation, the starting to try to mess with the leads, trying to give other people advantages so they can make sure that they outdo me, trying to wear down me emotionally. But through all of that, I was still producing. Eventually, I got exhausted because they started nitpicking. I went to the VP. And then eventually, because it got to a head, it escalated and HR got involved. Because I got so tired of surviving in this dog eat dog world, and I was bothered by it because now I gotta suppress all of this shit. It's hard to start suppressing and working in a hostile environment, and you still gotta produce. It's hard. What was so beautiful about that experience? It woke me up. Because I realized being mistreated, staying silent, and consistently turning the other cheek had become normal to me. Religion taught me, keep the peace no matter what, because your day gonna come. That day never came. Don't make waves. So even when I finally spoke up for myself, my nervous system panicked. Oh, I didn't know what to do. I panicked. Because having a freedom of speech was so unfamiliar. But for the first time in my life, I wasn't abandoning myself to make everybody else comfortable. And they start going chatter. She ain't the same. She ain't her bubbly self. This ain't her to be speaking out like this. I know that you're used to me trying to act as an inferior person. But that's not who I am. So now the question became, what do I do now? Now that I've stopped betraying myself, what do I do now? Now that I start speaking up for myself. Oh, it ain't been easy. It has not been easy. But I told that story for a reason. Because you can lose yourself playing somebody else's game. You can become so focused on surviving and maintaining, trying to prove yourself, trying to stay accepted, staying employed, that you solely disconnect from who you really are. And that bubbly tie turned into somebody that was saying, you know what? I hated going to work, even though it paid so dang on good. And family, that was exactly how we experience religion. Based on the things you have to do and how you have to be. It's paying you minimum wage for all the shit you got to put up with. What do you mean, Ty? I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about the exchange. Because what is minimum wage really? It's when the labor is heavier than the reward. You give more than what you pour back, than what's poured back into you. You leave work drained every day wondering, was all this really worth it? Come on, exchange. Is all of this trouble and headache really worth it? That's how I experienced religion externally and internally. Because the expectations never stopped. Always another service, always another meeting, always another event or obligation or sacrifice. Another thing you got to do to prove your commitment. And after a while, you stop feeling spiritually alive and start feeling spiritually employed. Clocking in just emotionally every week. Showing up even when you're tired. Serving even when you're empty. Smiling even when you don't want to. That pressure slowly wears you down. And if I don't want to smile, I don't want to. I don't have to. But when your value becomes, it's tied to how available you are, how much you sacrifice, how loyal you stay, how much you suppress yourself, how much labor you perform in the system, eventually you start losing yourself playing somebody else's game. I know what that feels like. To wake up every day, going somewhere that pays well while it's draining you. That's what your experiences are. I can guarantee if I were to ask you right now, give me a 3-minute talk about yourself. See? Oftentimes we have more things in common than we realize. We don't realize how much we sacrifice and we give up parts of ourselves to belong, just to belong and be a part of something. It is in our nature to want to have relationship. It is in our nature to want to connect. And they knew that. And I say they, I'm talking about the system that created this thing for us. But I want us to think about it. Try going 3 minutes just talking about yourself without bringing God or something externally into the picture. Do it. I just want to hear 3 minutes of you sitting with yourself and saying all of the things that you appreciate about you. bet you can't. You don't even recognize yourself anymore outside of that role. And you stay because you're afraid to go to hell. And you know what? What if hell is hotter than what if heaven? Because I heard heaven is hot. What if the heaven they gave you is hotter than hell? All of this because you don't want to burn. I guarantee you, if that consequence wasn't there, that you would have to go to hell for doing the things that you do, I bet you wouldn't even care. I bet you wouldn't care. If they told you right now, you know what? And I'm just saying in a world, because I don't think there's anything I can tell y'all to make you believe it, but you got to know for yourself. If they told y'all right now that we made it up, there's no such a thing, I bet you wouldn't even stay being a Christian. I bet you wouldn't. Just like that job that you hate, you would quit it at a blink of an eye. If you knew, what if the Bible says heaven is hotter than hell? I just said that, Doc. I just said, well, I didn't say the Bible said it, but that's a good point to bring in. That's a very good point. They wouldn't be subscribing to try to go. They wouldn't be aiming so high. They would be giving into those fleshly things. They'll be like, oh, I can answer to this body call. I can think what I want to think, and I don't have to hide it now. I guarantee you right now, if somebody told you, I'll give you, if you can still keep your pay and get rid of that job you hate, I guarantee you, y'all be like, peace, I'm out. The light bulb came on for me when I was unpacking this today. I realized I've been laboring hard emotionally, and I'm still waiting on to get paid from that very system that they told me I had to wait on. Sure would. Come on. I'm still today waiting on the peace that surpasses all understanding. I can say right now that the 5 years that I haven't subscribed to, the last 5 years, I've had more peace and I've experienced more joy than I have my whole life. Family, your soul is asking you, how much longer can I keep clocking into something that no longer gives life back to me? Tiptoeing around, suppressing yourself, ignoring what you feel that you honestly feel. And I don't truly think that we're ignoring it. I think we're just doing it behind closed doors while nobody's watching. I don't think that y'all ignoring, trying to remain accepted, even though your nervous system is screaming, this ain't working for me. Get somebody else to do it. And because of fear, you stay. Just like that, a job you hate. And eventually you start living off prediction errors, hoping maybe this time it'll happen. Maybe if I serve more. Maybe if I sacrifice more. Maybe if I suppress myself more. Just maybe. And that's why resignation is necessary. It should be a priority. We got to get our priorities in order. That's what they tell you when they say Jesus is coming back, even though we know it's not a rapture. You better get your priorities in order. I want you to give it back and cancel that contract for religion. Most of us signed spiritual contracts anyway before we ever knew who we were, Before we understood what fear and shame even looked like, we were already signing contracts as babies. Peace to you, beloved. Peace to you. That peace that you're experiencing now, I think I feel kind of slighted now, because I wish I could go back and get this peace that I had back then. My life would be totally different. But we ain't gonna talk about no coulda, shoulda, wouldas. We're gonna be present and we're gonna operate in our now. Now that I have it, now I won't take this thing up a notch. Yes, we're gonna take it up a notch. But we're going to gain understanding as we do that, because we accepted this thing. And we're going to show ourselves some grace because we accepted this thing before our prefrontal cortex was even developed. That prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain that connects to decision making, reasoning, self-awareness, critical thinking, understanding consequences. That don't even develop until you get to be an adult. So by the time you become an adult and start thinking for yourself, your body is already full of scarcity and guilt and shame automatically. Taught behavior. Because those beliefs and fears, they taught it to you when you was a child. And that influences the development of your prefrontal cortex. We've unpacked that before. One of your brain's major function is to protect you, regardless of the cost. So environment that relies heavily on fear, telling you you're going to burn in hell. I had nightmares about that. That environment that taught you how to be shamed and told you got to cover up, or blind obedience, makes it harder to trust your own thinking later in life. That nervous system adapted to survive the environment that it was trained in. So if the environment trained you that way, what do we expect? What do we expect if all we got is a nervous system full of fear and shame? That's why legally there are laws protecting children against signing serious contracts. You can't even put in an application to get a loan if you're not of age. Why? Because society understands that a child doesn't develop fully understanding things and that they can agree to. That's why they can't buy a house. That's why they can't sign business contracts or take out loans or make certain legal decisions without a guardianship or being of a certain age. Because they recognize their awareness is still developing. Now, hear me careful. If we can understand that naturally, why are we thinking it's okay to give this to children? For our children to make contracts with these spiritual external, that's lifelong contracts. Y'all have to make that make sense to me. I can never understand that. You setting these kids up for failure. You are. I don't think none of my kids been baptized unless they done snuck off around there with one of them aunties or uncles. Not the uncles, because the uncles wouldn't do it. Not unless they done snuck off with somebody over there and done them. None of my kids been baptized. Y'all both been gave that away. Anyway, that's in them books that y'all done threw that y'all allowed them to take out of there. Jesus and what was his name? The one that betrayed Jesus, that kissed him, that gave Judas. Judas, in the books they took out, Judas and Jesus was having this conversation, and they was talking about how baptism had gone away, and y'all would be still trying to baptize people. Y'all ask for them books, I'll give y'all the books. How is it that society says you're too young to legally commit to a corporation, but somehow you're old enough to commit to your entire identity, your soul, your beliefs, your fears, your salvation, and your future to God forever? I'm asking us to be conscious. Thank you. I'm asking us to be conscious about these decisions that we're making. I'm almost convinced. I'm going to ask Dr. Simitawi to start doing some research on how is this affecting the prefrontal cortex when we have this stuff? Is it making us childlike in the mind that we can think that this is okay? Because we have inherited religion. Let me take that back. Religion was forced on us, and we adopted it like a stepchild. That was not ours. But y'all quick to say E5 voodoo is of the devil. But you're quick to get some olive oil and put it on somebody's head like that ain't got nothing to do with. This is foolishness. And you pass it on to your children before they even have the awareness of what's happening. Family, you were born into it, conditioned into it, rewarded for complying with it, fearful of questioning it. And by the time you finally become conscious enough to ask the questions, the contract is already emotionally binding. You know how they say it takes so long for a contract to be legal? When you're doing a home equity loan, they tell you have 3 days to have a right to rescission. By the time that you are conscious and you start asking real live logical questions, you already passed your 3-day mark. And you already signed, sealed, delivered. I'm yours. That's why this resignation, that tide is turning in, it becomes so deep when you think about it. Because I realize, I don't know about you, but I realized that the agreement that I made it before I knew who I was. And it hindered. I'm willing to say it stunted my growth. People are waking up. I'm trying to put them on as this is how you can keep the people in the church. We don't want to keep hearing the same thing over and over again every Sunday. I don't want to hear nothing else about the lies y'all told about Job. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't. We need to revisit these agreements consciously with our adult mind. It says when you were a child, you thought as a child. When you became an adult, you put away the childish thing. And I'm asking, when are we going to put away these childish things? When? Instead of consciously performing them out of fear of disappointing y'all's CEO. But eventually, awareness enters. What you said, beloved, we're waking up. Awareness is entering the space. And once awareness enters, you're asking, did I consciously choose this? Does this align with who I truly am? Is this producing life in me? Or am I simply honoring this contract that I signed, that I I shouldn't even be legally bound to, because I was not of age. Those are hard questions. But I ask the hard questions that oftentimes y'all won't. And I love it over here. And I do. Ty keeps showing up for me. It's different. Today, and most of the time it's Sundays or Tuesdays. I did a back-to-backer this week. I did one Sunday and I did one Tuesday. But you can go and actually go onto my YouTube page on it. It starts with you, and you can see some of the other ones. But Tuesdays and Sundays, most cases. I do want to make something clear. That awakening does not and is not rebellion. So if you're feeling guilty about they're gonna think I'm a rebel, turn on your notifications. I would love to have you. This is not rebellion. It's conscious examination. And I had to become honest enough to say for myself, if this contract requires me constantly to suppress things that I feel is natural to me, if it requires me to disconnect from who I just want to be, to fear myself and abandon myself, if that contract is going to require me to do those things, then maybe it's time for me to go on ahead and put my letter in resignation. I remember, this is funny. So we used to attend this church called Saint Savior. And they was trying to put my uncle out the church. And, we was a big family of church people. I couldn't have been no more 6 or 7, something to that nature. And when they told him to leave, we said, we going with him. So in order to do that, you have to put your resignation in at the church. Welcome in. You have to put your resignation in the church. So what they would do at that time, and I'm talking about, this has been a long time ago, you would write your letter and you had to stand up in front of the church to tell why you was leaving, why you was taking your membership elsewhere. So everybody got a chance to read their letter and tell them why they was leaving. When it was my turn, I got up there and I said, I'm leaving because my uncle leaving and I'm going with him. Little 6 or 7-year-old. And then the whole church was like, see, that's what I'm talking about. Why y'all? And I'm just like, oh my God, did I say the wrong thing? I'm great. Thank you for asking. But it's time that I not even formally, I've already gave my resignations. If y'all didn't have it already, you got it now. I'm giving my formal resignation because I got love under new management now. Get you some love under some new management. I wrote my resignation letter in March of 22. Oh, that was recently. Never look back. Congratulations. Congratulations to you, beloved. We don't even understand how much things that we've suppressed can just be released. Oh, see? Family, anything truly aligned with life should not require the destruction of your humanity to remain connected to it. And that's why resignation became sacred to me. Because resignation was not me rejecting myself anymore. I didn't want to reject any part of me. It was me finally becoming conscious enough to say, who taught me all this to begin with? This should be a priority. To give it back. That's what it means, resignation. To give it back, to cancel the contract for religion. Whatever is binding you, resign from it. 2005, peace, Doc. You've been in this game over 20 years. Shout it out. If you turned in your resignation letter, put it in the chat. How long has it been since you turned in your resignation letter? And if you haven't already, what are your plans to? This is an opportunity to release what was once assigned. That's powerful. Because eventually, I realized I was carrying assignments that no longer align with who I wanted to become. Have a great night, beloved. Thank you for coming in and sharing with us. The biblical text tells y'all all the time, you should be the lender and not the borrower. And not because, people only, not because it's something financially. But tonight I need for us to go a little bit deeper before I get out of here. I got a little bit longer. I'm making good time. I'm going to finish before time. It's not about money. But many of us and many of you have been spiritually borrowing identity, borrowing worth, borrowing approval, borrowing purpose, borrowing permission to fully exist. And family, that's exhausting too. Because when you're constantly borrowing who you are, you never fully own yourself. You don't own anything. And that's one thing I was talking to Dr. Cemetery about, and he's very versed in how to make sure that you get your trust set up, how to make sure that you actually own things. Because whether you know it or not, you come over here and you sign up for this mortgage with Ty, you don't truly own it. Just putting you on. That car either. You don't really own it. But you can. And eventually you become dependent on this system to tell you who you are, when you can go to lunch, when you got to clock in, what days you got to work, what days you can go and celebrate with your family, what days you can't go and see about your mama or your parents. If you get somebody sick in the family, you got to put in time to take off. What's acceptable, what's holy, what makes you worthy. And that's why I love, and I'm resonating with this entrepreneurship that I want to change my life. And that entrepreneurship, I know we're scared of it, but it's deeper than just being in business. It's more than money. It's ownership. It's stewardship. It tells you, the text tells you to be a good steward over money. But that when that shows up and that entrepreneurship shows up, you can actually be creative. You can start trusting what was placed inside of you, building from your gifts. What happened to your gifts will make room for you. Where are y'all screaming that from? What about producing from what's natural? That's why entrepreneurship scares so many people. And y'all don't even know it. They doing it in your face. Your pastor, if he don't have no job, he's an entrepreneur. Ty be coming with tea. I'm telling you, they own. They just don't tell you. That's why it scares so many people spiritually. Because once you stop functioning as an employee, you can no longer hide behind a system. Now you have to think for yourself. You got to trust yourself. You got to create for yourself. You got to discern for yourself. You got to take responsibility of your own life. And being an employee, being a Christian, and not with the K, with the C, you're being a slave to the bow and arrow. And it tells you, come on, Ty. y'all playing. Y'all should be in here eating. Those systems were never designed to teach you ownership because it want to make you and keep you a slave to the bow and arrow. It teaches you dependency. And we all know dependent people are easier to manage. When you're on that job, you're easier to control because you don't want to be in a position where you don't have a place to go to work. You don't want to be in a position where you can't pay your bills. You don't want to be in a position where you can't do what you want to do for your family. You don't want it. And once that light bulb came on for me, I'm starting to realize, wait a minute, the structure of the church mirrors that corporation exactly. The CEO, the management, the policies, the procedures, the expectations, the employees, the labor, the pressure to stay loyal, the fear of you leaving, the fear of losing your benefits, the fear of losing community. And you're spiritually clocking in every Sunday to your church job. That you ain't even connected to. Just showing up. I'm handing it back to you. Hand it back to him. Because I'm going to hand back the need to keep dimming my light. They tell you to let your light shine when you go to service. They don't mean it. They don't mean it. They already got their picks and chooses. They got their VIP section. They got a section off on who can sit in the front, who needs to sit by pastor when he's preaching the word. Your light too bright. Hand it back to him. Say, I don't want it. And that's what many of you are called to do right now. Stop dimming your light. Stop shrinking yourself. Stop betraying yourself to stay accepted in a system that no longer feeds your spirit. Because the labor is costing you something. Remember at the first beginning, I said everything costs something. It's costing you. What is it costing me, Ty? Because I don't have to pay nothing but my tithes when I go to church. It's costing you more than that. It's costing you your peace, your joy, unspeakable joy, your honesty because you're lying. I ain't lying, Ty. You lie every time you start speaking in tongues and you know ain't nobody done that, gave you that. And you know the beautiful thing is I understand now that my resignation was not rebellion. It was my journey back into reclaiming who I am. It was reclamation. It was reclaiming my voice, my intuition, my gifts, my creativity, my peace. I can reclaim my relationship with myself. I'm getting to know me for the very first time. I'm getting to know the things that I like and what I don't like. And every day something else new shows up about what I love about me and what I enjoy having and what I enjoy being in company with. Almost every day, Dr. Simatari show up and I'm just like, oh my God, I like that a lot. My ability to consciously think. I just love my mind just being able to think and process. And I desired that. My natural way of being. Because eventually I realized God didn't create me to spend my whole life dimming my life just only to allow somebody else to say, I need my light to shine brighter than yours. No. And I'm not talking about no sky daddy dimming my light. I'm talking about if we recognize who we are. You out here in these streets doing the same thing, shrinking your gifts, your thoughts, your power, your creativity, your individuality, just to remain accepted. Your soul is saying, I can't keep borrowing permission to be myself. When are you going to see about me? We were created. We have to realize we were created to build, to produce, to create, to live fully, to shine, to have dominion. And that's the difference between being spiritually employed and spiritually alive. We have to start challenging these narratives, because one keeps you dependent on the corporation and the other reconnects you to what you was placed here. Everything that's already inside of you from the beginning, connection to self, connection to source. And eventually, if you wake up, your soul is going to tell you it's time to sign them papers. It's time to resign. It's time to go where the energy resides. The light bulb just keeps coming on. I don't ever think I put something together this quick and I enjoyed it so much. But as I look back on, my experiences, the manipulation, the politics, the pressure to control, the emotional exhaustion from constantly trying to, survive somebody else's system, I realized so many things. Hello, welcome in. It was the same experience. Not exactly the same externally, but the same internally. And I know y'all don't like when I say metaphysical, but that's what it looks like, beyond physical. The same pressure to suppress myself, to remain in good standing with the system. And that realization shook me. That realization shook me. And because of that experience, I slowly started to learn how to monitor myself, how to pull back, how to watch what I say, how to stay politically correct, how to not make people uncomfortable with my light being so bright, how to shrink myself to survive in those environments. And one day I realized, wait a minute. I'm done with this. How dare you give me this? I'm done with it. Earlier tonight, I asked 3 questions. I said 3. I asked 3 questions earlier tonight. What position was I working? What was I being paid with? And why was I so exhausted? And I realized when I was a Christian, I would have replied with saying, eternal life. I'm going to walk those streets of gold. I'm going to shout and never get tired, because every day is going to be Sunday. All those things. But what is it producing while I'm still alive? All those things that I just named. Because if that reward only exists after I get unalive, after I transition, but my present life is filled with turmoil and grief and pain and struggle, then eventually I gotta ask, what is my return on all this I'm investing? That return on investment, or is it ROI, is horrible. All because the whites gave me their Lord. Somebody they behind your backs are going to the right source, because they know they got all of the stuff down in the basements. They do it the right way. Why do you require me to lose myself now for the reward that I can't experience until later? I'm like Job now. That's crazy. You have become a full-time employee in a system that keeps requiring more and more from you. I need you to come to work. I need you to do all the work while everybody else sit around and watch. I need you to take your holidays and give them to me. You got to work on the weekends. You got to be on here doing this stuff even though you don't like it, and smile while you're at it, because I don't want you. While in return, it's giving less life back internally. So what was I being paid for? Because I didn't have peace, couldn't rest, no holiness. I was partial. But I'm going to share with you what you're being paid in. Temporary validation, temporary approval, feeling acceptance, emotional highs, survival, fear, relief, belonging, not true belonging. And all of that for the hope of one day, all this labor would finally make me whole. But I gotta wait. I don't want my payment like that. I don't want to wait on my money. It's already enough that you telling me I gotta work 2 weeks, put 2 weeks in the hole. That's what we're doing. We're putting our lives in the hole. We're working, putting our lives in the hole to get a payday when we leave. Same thing they do you on a job. Work for them for 2 weeks, all for the promise that at the end of this 2 weeks, I'm going to get a paycheck. I don't want to do it. I've been laboring too hard spiritually, and I'm exhausted. If that's peace, I don't want it. If that's peace, why does my nervous system feel so heavy? If this is fulfillment, why do I still feel so disconnected? And that's when I realized some of us have been working overtime emotionally for compensation that never truly comes. Waiting, praying, guessing. And eventually your soul is going to say, this labor is costing me too much. Just like you handing that resignation to that letter at that job. Sometimes you do it because you found something better. And we even try to do them a courtesy to say, I'm going to give you a 2-week notice. Or you hand it in because you outgrew the environment. Or because the labor became too heavy for you to keep carrying it. And you forced out. And if I'm honest, I understand burnout differently now. Doc, I hope you're still in here. I understand burnout differently now. Because through my experiences, when you would say, I'm burning out, I had to really sit with that. Not judge it or run from it, not spiritually bypass it, but sit with it, because burnout is what happens when you've been carrying too much for too long without enough life being poured back into you. Family, I had to become honest about so many things in this process of unpacking. And I suck at damage control. But I created a habit of waiting until I'm already exhausted before I finally stop and deal with what's happening inside of me. That's no way to live. And you know what's so beautiful about that? I can't blame nobody else. I don't have no devil to blame. I don't have no goat to put it on and send it out into the desert. This is my work. This is your work. You got to look at you. I got to look at me. I got to sit with myself. I got to get in the paint. Life is gymnasium. This journey, this awareness, this healing, this unpacking. And tonight I invite you to get in the gym with me. Do your work. Don't perform. Don't put on no mask. Don't pretend. Don't suppress. But really sit with yourself honestly. Because tonight, what y'all witnessed was not just a teaching. It was a live expression of my resignation letter. Me finally saying I can't keep abandoning myself just to survive systems that no longer align with who I am becoming and who I desire to be. The highest version of myself. And now I have vision of what that can be because I've got a taste of what the possibilities are. When they used to have us saying I could do all things through Christ that strengthened me, I never really truly thought about what that was because I thought Christ was Jesus's last name. Because they say Jesus Christ. I thought it was his last name. Just telling you, I'm just sharing with you my experience. I didn't know that I can access mine until I started doing the work and understanding and reading and understanding and knowing for myself. I would have told you, don't you say a word. Don't you put your mouth on it. Don't do it. And family, I'm taking my life back the best way I know how. Hi, welcome in. So those obstacles, that fear, that uncertainty, because at the end of the day, the biggest thing standing in my way is me. Get out of your own way, family. And I'm telling you this not as if I got it all together. I don't know how to say your name, AM. I don't know. Don't charge it to my head. Don't charge it to my, what is it? Don't charge it to my heart. Charge it to my head. I hope I said your name right. I'm sorry if I didn't. You are sitting in your own way. What should I do when I have a job that I love and it pays well? That's crazy work. We don't think about those things. They used to tell me all the time, do what you love and you'll do it for free. Welcome in. Hey, do what you love and you'll do it for free. When you stop doing all the things just to survive and become an entrepreneur spiritually, mentally, you stop living as an employee of everybody else's expectations. Now you got to think for yourself, trust yourself, build for yourself, take responsibility for yourself. And you can create a life that's actually aligned with who you are, who you desire to be. It's going to be scary. Show yourself some grace in this process because we have years and years of nervous system damage. Entrepreneurship sounds good until there ain't nobody to blame. You can't blame it on little Patty in the cubicle down the way. You can't blame it on them. And you can't blame it on the CEO or the pastor. You ain't got no management to blame it on, no system. Now you got to face your fears, your habits, your excuses, your healing, and your potential. You got to face it. That's why many people stay with an employer because they like the benefits better when they work for somebody else. Because ownership requires accountability, and it's really hard. I have yet to see a Christian take responsibility or accountability for things instead of taking you on a loop or taking you on a ride. It's hard. They say your nervous system so strong. It is. I'm telling you, it is. But when you finally stop abandoning yourself and you stop surviving life and start building one, you'll be okay. And you'll find out in the interim that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And that's the real spill. So tonight I'm going to leave you with this. The labor is worth of his hire. One more time. The labor is worth of his hire. That's scripture. And I don't use scripture and take it literally. I use it to demonstrate a point. And I also look at it metaphysically because I know the origin of where this information was plagiarized from. It's simple. That means your labor should produce a return. You should get a return on your investment. Your effort should not leave you empty. So ask yourself honestly tonight, because I started asking, if I've been laboring this hard spiritually, where is the peace? Where is that fulfillment? Where is the life being poured back into me? Because if all the labor produces is exhaustion, fear, guilt, then eventually you got to ask, what exactly is my hire? What am I really being paid with? And family, when you get the answer and you answer that, that's where I started. And that's where my resignation became evident. And tonight has made me so proud that I haven't looked back since. I got a new way of wearing my hair, and I'm proud about it. And I can't blame and haven't blamed a soul. I've been so grateful that I can stand in this space and be so proud to not act the way I used to act. I can be proud to say things that I will never do again because I know that I have integrity, I have values, and I stand on the principle of my peace, justice, and righteousness. And in that, I recognize that everything that's mine starts with me. And what's yours starts with you. That's going to be it for me tonight, family. I'm going to get out of here. I send you peace, light, and don't dim yours. Hotep.